If I had to choose one lens to shoot everything, from social content to cinematic travel films, to even paid client shoots, I would choose the Sony 24mm f1.4 G Master. Here's why. Okay, so let's start with a little bit of context. This is one of my most asked questions, especially from people who are just starting out in their cinematic journey, or for people who are just trying to get their filmmaking kit to be a little bit smaller. What's the one lens that you use the most, or if you had to travel with, what's the one lens that you would pack? The lens that I gravitate to most is the 24mm focal length, specifically the f1.4 G Master. Now this is for Sony. If you shoot on any other camera system, I'm sure they have other equivalents of the f1.4 aperture, but the name of the game is versatility. That's the reason why I love this lens and why I use it all the time. Maybe you're just getting started out in client work, you wanna film yourself a little bit, or you're even shooting social content for clients or for yourself. The 24mm checks a lot of boxes, and it's one that I can use in almost every scenario. From personal experience, I feel like the 24mm focal length is a sweet spot for solo filmmakers, or if you just have one lens. A lot of people actually gravitate to the 35mm focal length, but both of them are generally regarded as pretty wide lenses. If you know this channel and you know my work, you know that I love wide lenses, specifically the 10mm, the 16mm, and the 24mm is actually pretty wide for most people. I think the 35mm is even considered a pretty wide lens. But for me personally, I think the 24mm is just on the edge of being super wide, ultra wide, and it doesn't quite distort your image that much or that noticeably. Here are 3 different shots real quickly just to show you the difference between the 50mm, the 35mm, and the 24mm, all filmed from the same exact distance. This is just me picking up my camera, and you can tell how wide the 24mm is, especially compared to the 50mm. And the wide nature of the lens, I think, really lends into its strengths. It allows you to get into smaller spaces, capture more environment, even when you're close up to your subject. And if you need to get closer or need to get tighter, you can just move yourself closer to whatever you're filming. I found personally that the distortion's not too crazy as long as you're not like just right up against your subject, right up into their face. For the most part, it seems pretty pleasing, and I've used it a lot in client work. It's been my go-to lens for a lot of different occasions. And I don't think I've ever had a complaint from a client or someone remark where the distortion is so noticeable that I had to reshoot or I couldn't use the footage from this lens. Now, being this wide, this allows you a lot of versatility in whatever you're filming. And this is the reason why if I had to choose only one lens, this would be my go-to or preferred lens. If you're traveling, the 24mm focal length allows you to capture a lot more of the environment, and without you having to get super far away from what you're filming, it allows for just easier capture of what's going on around you. For social content on Instagram and even YouTube, this is actually the lens I'm filming on right now. The 24mm is great because you can place the camera not too far away and still capture a lot of your environment and still capture a pretty pristine, not too distorted image. Now for Sony specifically, there are 2 common 24mm prime lenses that they offer. First, the 2.8, which is a bit smaller than this G Master Prime and obviously a lot cheaper. But the reason why I like this 24mm f1.4 is obviously that amazing low light capability. At f1.4, you get a really pleasing separation. I'd say the depth of field of 24mm with the f1.4 is a really unique look, and it really lends well to solo filmmaking, cinematic looks, and obviously you could shoot at f4, f5.6, f8 to get the sharpest image, but even at f1.4, I feel like the image is super sharp. Right now I'm filming at f1.4, and a lot of my social content I like to shoot at f1.4, especially when I get closer to get that really shallow depth of field. And the bokeh from this lens, it's nothing crazy, but it's not distracting. It's a nice, pleasing look. Now, besides a really nice depth of field, obviously shooting at f1.4 allows for more light. So when you're filming by yourself, you're traveling, or you're just shooting with one lens, having that ability to shoot in darker situations and opening up to f1.4 allows for that additional level of versatility that makes this lens super useful. And honestly, it just works in a lot of different environments. The minimum focus distance on this lens also is a lot of fun. It's 0.24 meters, I believe, which allows for you to get somewhat close, not quite macro shots, but there are a couple tips and tricks that you can do to get macro. You can obviously like pop on a macro filter or use extension tubes. There's a couple different tricks to make this an actual, macro usable footage, but 0.24 is not too bad. Now moving on to the size and form factor of this lens is relatively pretty small. Obviously, I wouldn't say it's as small as the f2.8 counterpart. It's not a pancake lens, but it's not too crazy. It's not too large, and it's also not too heavy. At 445 grams, just under a pound, it's not super noticeable comfortable. And when you're traveling, it's that nice sweet spot where it doesn't get too heavy when you're lugging around all day, or if you're shooting on set, it's nothing too crazy. I think the form factor pairs extremely well, specifically with the Sony FX3 or the Sony a7C II. Those two combinations are what I use, and I feel like they're a great combination of lens and body. Additionally, with the lens size allows for gimbal advantage. And so a lot of my short form content, I use a gimbal. Sometimes on my cinematic stuff, or even mostly on my client work, I like to use gimbals. On the DJI RS2 and also RS3 Pro, the two gimbals that I use primarily, this lens with the FX3 body makes it a super small package. It's super easy to balance on a gimbal. It makes it light enough where it's super versatile, and you can also shoot vertically as well as horizontally. For a solo creator, I think that's huge, being able to quickly and without stress balance your gimbal and use this on the go. Now this lens, obviously at f1.4, if you want to shoot wide open during the day, you're going to need a variable ND or an ND filter. The ones that I use most often are offered by Freewell. They're the magnetic variable ND system. I think they're V2, there's also the V3. It's a super easy system that I just keep on my lens, and you can easily adjust the strength of the ND as well as pop on a either 1 to 5 stop or a 6 to 9 stop ND on the go. NDs are basically sunglasses for your lens. It allows you to block the amount of light and capture shallower depth of field even in brighter conditions. Now the trade-off for this lens in particular is obviously it's pretty expensive. I think they go for like $1,400 or $1,500. You can get them used. So if you're just starting out and you're looking for this lens, I'd highly recommend looking at the used market on eBay, or if you've got a select retailer around you that offers used lenses or even refurbished lenses or serviced or cleaned lenses, that's the first place that I'd look to try and get this lens on the cheap. The reason why I say that this lens at its price point is one that I would highly recommend as a basically like one lens does it all, or even a starter lens for someone trying to get into professional client work or even just doing solo filmmaking. I think the versatility again of its wide factor, but with that shallow depth of field, the f1.4 makes this lens a really unique lens. I've used it extensively on client projects. It's my go-to lens for almost all of the A-roll you've ever seen on this YouTube channel has been built off of this lens, as well as all of my social media talking head videos. For the most part, I would say maybe 90% of my content is shot on the 24mm G Master. It's just so great at capturing the environment while also isolating the subject. If you can't afford the G Master, then the 24mm f2.8 is a great option. The only difference between size and price is you lose a G Master coating, which isn't a big deal. I think 2.8 to 1.4 is a huge jump in light performance and honestly worth it. But if you're trying to save some money and you're just starting out, then the 24mm 2.8 is a great option as well. If you have any other questions on my kit or any other pieces of gear that I'm using, I'm planning on doing another update to my solo filmmaking kit that's coming up soon. Make sure to leave those down in the comments below. As always, if you'd like my color grade, check out my LUTs, my PowerGrade, and my sound effects and other presets linked down below in my shop. It's always a great help to the channel and I really appreciate it. If you made it to the end of the video, you're a real one. Please leave a comment. Let's do the word prime for this one. Thanks again for watching to the very end, and I'll see you guys in the next one.